Welcome to learning how to knit in less than 10 minutes. Today what I'm going to show you is how to use circular needles. Circular needles are very good when you're making hats or when you're making sleeves on sweaters or tops, as well as if you're making kind of like a round necked scarf. There are two types of circular needles that you can get. There are two different sizes. There's the 29-inch size, that's this one, that's this long, and then there's the 16-inch, which is right here. If I get it, which is this long. So this one's a lot smaller size. So this is good when you to help with the hats. Now, usually the general size for a hat are either 30 stitches for infants, 60 for toddlers or children, 90 for women, and 110 stitches for men's average size hats. So what I usually like to do is use a smaller size needle. Now I am currently making a hat in this one. This is for a woman's hat, but what I want to show you is how to cast on stitches on a circular needle and then how to start knitting. Now I have currently casted on a few stitches. I'm going to cast on a few more. I'm using the same method, so I'm just using my finger as another needle and just casting on like that. So you keep doing this to the number of stitches that you need, and you would keep casting on. But now the trick in this one is, rather than starting to knit from here, you would actually start knitting from the opposite end, the one that you started off with, to keep it continuous, to keep the circle moving forward and not breaking it. So basically what you would have to do, now I'm using the longer version simply because my smaller version I have stitches on there. So what you would end up doing is moving all your stitches. So this is your first row, the one that you casted on. So I'm going to use is just do this to show you. So I am doing this, and I'm going to move these onto this. So I'm moving the stitches onto the harder portion of the needle so that I can knit. Now I think I will make that mistake, but I'm going to show you that that's the tricky part in circular needles. So now what you want to make sure is that all of your the lower portion of your stitches that you see here is on the right level, and then on this side you're at the same stage. So that way you want to make sure that everything is facing down, so that when you start actually knitting, you don't loop the stitches. So you want to make sure that everything is facing the right direction and that you're facing the right direction, so that way that when you start knitting, some of the stitches aren't facing the wrong way, and therefore you'll have a twist in your work, and that is not the only way to get rid of that is by redoing. So here so what I do with the first row is I just basically knit just so that I'm back on track, and then you have to keep a watch on this for 2 or 3 rows, and then it will all start working out. So as you keep going on, it will all kind of like fall into place, and then you won't have to worry about that particular issue. So I'm knitting the first row. I'm just going to show you. I think I might have made that mistake, but that's a good way to show you that that can happen to any one of us. And that's why I like using the smaller needles, because the stitches are closer by together, and therefore you don't have as much of the needle to worry about as you do here. So I'm knitting and knitting. So as you can see, as I get here, there's a twist right here. So I want to make sure that I undo that as I keep moving forward. So now here, I'm going to just move my thing up this way. Make sure, so I'm going to make sure again that everything is in the right, facing the right direction, so that way I don't have a twist. And then I'm going to move some more stitches. I'm going to move some more stitches up on the hard portion of my needle. There we go. Now don't worry about the stitches becoming smaller here as you move them up, which is a little bit of a difficulty, but as you move them up, they'll come back to their normal size. And again, as you keep knitting, those things will no longer be of a worry. There we go. And here I'm going to start knitting more. And then you keep doing this. So you keep knitting more until you finish your row, and then continue on with your project. So there you go. And I'm going to knit more. And there I am. So you keep doing this until you finish the first row, and then you could start your pattern. Continue on. You want to make sure that everything stays in alignment, so that way you don't have any twist coming through. And then you want to keep ensuring. So let's finish the first row. So the first row is the toughest, especially if you're using the longer circular needles. The shorter one, it makes it a little easier because you have less of the needle to worry about. But let's finish these off. And then the fewer stitches you have, and the longer needle you have, the more complicated it becomes. So if you have, even if you're using a lot of stitches, start off with the smaller needle to get at least the first row through, just to make your life a little more easier when it comes to making sure there's no twist. So I'm just making sure. So what I'm doing is I'm just aligning everything so that way there's no twist. And then here I could pour it around so that way that it makes it good. So I'm almost done. So this is the starting point. So I'm almost done my first row. So it'll be about 3 or 4 rows before it becomes a little easier. After the first row, after the 3-4 rows, you don't have to worry about the twist anymore. And then it's just a matter of making sure you keep knitting. I usually like doing the first row as a knit, just to get things, like just to have a good foundation to start my pattern. So after this, like for a hat, after this I would start a rib to give that tightness in the beginning of the hat, so like on the forehead. And there they come. And then let's knit these last few stitches and then see if there's any twist. And last 2, almost there. 1, 2. So I have my first row completed. So if you look at this, I wouldn't worry about this portion. it'll pretty much go away as you keep knitting more. And then if you could see throughout the whole thing, I have no twist in anything. So as I do my next row, whatever little things I see here and everything, I'll start fixing that as I keep moving forward. And that way then, as I keep moving on and on and on, it'll become a lot easier. And you can see that with this sweater that with this hat that I'm knitting. So I was using the smaller circular needles, and as you can see, my first row was just this way. It was in it, and then I just started off straight with my rib pattern, and now I'm just doing the cable. But it's basically, it's become a lot easier, and you don't get like a bigger, like you don't have to worry about any loose ends or anything like that. So it just flows through and comes through as you keep moving forward. So that's how you start off using circular needles. So the next step I'm going to show you is how to start off your hat and the type of hat that you want to start off with. So thank you for watching Rena Knits and learning how to knit in less than 10 minutes. If you like the videos that I am producing, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time.